Time for the 49ers Rush Podcast. And here's your host, John Chapman.
What is going on, faithful? It is Wednesday, which usually you see the handsome guy next to me on Thursday, but I'm flying out with the team to Carolina tomorrow all day, so that's a long freaking flight. We bumped up the schedule, so good news is we still get our NFC West watch with Brian from Legit Football. Brian, how are you today?
John, I'm great. Obviously, my Dolphins lost last week. Hoping to recover, no Tua, but they weren't going to go 17-0. I can't be too upset. I correctly picked the Niners amongst a bunch of other teams. I correctly picked 13 moneyline winners last week, so on that front, I'm feeling good.
Oh, I like it, man. We had a good week as well. We went 8 for 8 on our bets on my bookie. Yeah, a lot of it was taking your advice, as we went through these games, and so felt really good about that. I love that Wayne Breezy is in the chat already, man. What's up, Wayne?
What's up,
He
Wayne?
says, we are in first. The entire NFC West, it's log jammed. Everybody's 2-2. It is the division of mediocrity, at least early. And I'm curious to see where it's going to go because I'm going to be really honest with you. While all the teams are 2-2, I think I speak for both of us here. They are not all on the same playing field.
Not all created equal by any means.
No. What's up, Josh? Glad to see you in here. Shout out to all the hashtag CC. So what we're going to do, we're going to continue with what we do weekly where we go through each NFC West game by game. We're going to start off with the Seahawks. They play the early round. Then we have all three other teams playing the 1:00 p.m. game. We'll save the 49ers for last. And, of course, as always, questions. Now, I do have to say the handsome man, Clayton himself, is not around. So if you guys want to get your comment or question featured, go ahead and tag me in the chat, put @John on there so that I can see it. Be a little patient with me. I'm doing double time today, baby. And so excited about that. Love all the hashtag CC. So let's go. Seahawks, everybody's 2-2. They are playing against the Saints in New Orleans. The early kickoff game. What do you got for us, Brian?
First, to look back on last week, this was the only game in the NFC West that I missed on as far as my predictions, and I underestimated just how bad the Lions' defense was. Now, the reason that's relevant for this week is the Saints may not be a top 10 defense right now, but they are quite a bit better than what Seattle got to go up against with that Lions defense. It's crazy that the Lions have like a top 3 offense and maybe the worst defense in the NFL right now. But as that pertains going forward, I really like how the Saints match up against Seattle. I think that, playing in New Orleans, New Orleans is much more efficient on offense. They showed under Andy Dalton. I actually think that's an upgrade there. So I don't think you have I think if Jameis was in this, I would be a little bit more kind of a coin flip. But I just like how this sets up. Able to limit the run, and they have playmakers in the secondary. So you're not really going to get to establish the run with Rashad Penny as easily as you did against the Lions. The Saints have actually been particularly strong against the run all season long.
That defense is legit.
Yes. They were able to get a lot of pressure and pass rush against the Vikings in London. So I think we see a little bit more of that, really testing those rookie tackles of the Seahawks. At the end of the day, the points are a little high, but I just really like how this sets up for New Orleans. I just going up and down. I don't think Geno can play at the level he's been playing at every single week. So
he was the player of the week offensively for the NFC. How crazy is that?
Lions defense. That's why I started with that. We need to keep that in mind, in that when you play a defense as porous as Detroit's has been, you're going to be putting up points. You're going to be putting up numbers. They were able to run the ball and pass the ball at will. They're going to have a big come down this week. I like New Orleans at home to win, and I like them to cover. I've got the point spread at 5.5. I don't know what you guys have.
That's what I got too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a slam dunk. When I do my confidence tomorrow, it will not be. It'll probably be more in the middle. But I just really like how, especially with Dalton running the offense, Alvin Kamara's practicing, so it looks like he's going to be back.
That's huge.
No Michael Thomas, but Chris Olave played really well last week. I think the Seahawks are playing above their talent level. I think they come back down this week.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And I'll say this about all the NFC West games. There's no close games. Every single spread is 5 points or better on my bookie. We'll dive into each one. But yeah, I love the Saints, even with their backup quarterback, even without Michael Thomas. There's something about playing in New Orleans, and that's a long trip for Seattle. On top of that, defense, that's the issue. Whenever Seattle's played against a team with a decent defense, they have struggled mightily. And the Saints, I will say this forever and ever and ever. Cam Jordan is my favorite non-49er player. He was incredible last week. Can't believe that game went the way they did. But there's no doubt. The better team is the Saints. They're 1-3. They're better than that record.
Right.
They're,
I like to play
the
what's more likely game with some of these matchups at this point. And at the end of the day, what's more likely, that the Seahawks are able to replicate the offense they had last week and move to 3-2 under Geno Smith, and the Saints move to 1-4? Or is it more likely that with Kamara coming back, Andy Dalton running a more efficient, less turnover-prone offense with that strong Saints defense, that they take the win at home by 6 points or more? To me, that's quite a bit more likely. That's why I'm picking the Saints to win and cover.
Yeah, I'm picking the Saints to win. Yeah. I probably staying away from this one on the bet itself. To be honest with you, the best bet is to do like a teaser with the Seahawks where you get points on top of the 5.5. Right. But even then, which we got paid pretty big on last week, I'm stayed away from it. I don't like it. I want to give a shout out to my man, Dan Case, fellow educator. I guess I'm not an educator anymore. I can't say that. But just amazing, man. He's got some extra tickets to the Panthers game, which we're going to be at. I already got my tickets, but they're club level, sweet tickets. So if you're looking for 2 tickets to the Panthers game, this is a man I trust. I will vouch for him. Just email me, 49ersrushpodcast@gmail.com, or you can reach out to Dan Case on Twitter and reach out to him. So faithful helping faithful out. He's going to the game. He's got some extra tickets. That's what's up, man. So anyway, look at this. Josh, he giving me credit. I'm a 49ers educator. I'll take it. Now let's go to probably the biggest game, I think, on this schedule, and that's the Dallas Cowboys traveling to Los Angeles to play the Rams, and the Rams are favored by 5.5 against the 3-1 Cowboys. Whew.
I've got 4.5.
4.5.
It's a little more realistic. But yeah, I think there's a couple factors. First of all, talk about why the spread is that way. The Rams are still the Super Bowl champs. There's a little bit of an aura around them. And the Cowboys still have Cooper Rush, which even though he's undefeated as a starter, that offense has actually moved the ball very well through the air with him at quarterback. I was digging into some of the advanced metrics today, and it has been very efficient. CeeDee Lamb is finally coming around. I just think it's almost like the predetermined narrative gives the Ram the edge, especially at home. But playing in LA is not like playing at some of these other home stadiums. You don't necessarily get an automatic advantage.
You do not.
Because, half the time it's the fans are from the other team. It's just SoFi Stadium's beautiful, but there's not an inherent home field advantage short of Dallas having to travel a couple time zones.
Yeah, they've got a couple podcasts that have already put out there, like the 49ers Rams game. Yeah, the 49ers, we outnumber them, and the Rams have to go silent count at home. They had to do it versus the Bills. They had to do it in the NFC Championship. They had to do it Week 18 last year. It's just they don't support teams here very well. I guess USC and the Dodgers and Lakers, they get pretty good support, but outside of that, a lot of stuff to do in LA.
It's not inherent. It's not like going to play at Levi's or going to play in Seattle with the 12th man or any of those kind of stadiums. A couple key factors in this game. Cowboys pass rush is probably the most, or like top 3 at least, as far as most efficient, up there with the 49ers. And that's the difference. We just saw what a strong pass rush can do against Stafford and the Rams. Now you get to face a very similar as far as efficient pass rush against that beat up and undermanned Rams offensive line. But I actually see a bounce back game for the Rams defense in this one. They've actually been very good against the run throughout the course of the season, which will force Cooper Rush to win the game yet again. I like some of the playmakers they have. I think that you can only keep Aaron Donald down for so long. I think he's going to make a play or two in this game. I think Cooper Rush can't go undefeated forever, so I like the Rams and a bounce back at home to win this game. I don't love the spread, even at 4.5. Not loving it. So I do my final picks on Thursday, so none of these are solidified. But where I'm picking now, with especially for this show, is I do have the Rams covering at home. Or I'm sorry, the Rams winning at home, but I do not like that 4.5 point spread. Definitely don't like 5.5. I think overall, if you look at the kind of the advanced metrics of DVOA, the Cowboys have actually been getting slightly worse overall. So I just feel like this is the game where it comes back down to earth a little bit, and then there's no question when Dak's ready next week that they'll get him back in the lineup.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I don't think these two teams, I think they're similar in the fact that they have some star potential. They have some really bad offensive line play and a lot of inconsistencies. Yeah, the explosives are there for both teams, but I just don't like this. And whoever loses, it's going to be gut check time. And I hate to say it, I'm going to be pulling for the Cowboys, which I never do, but this could be bad. If the Rams lose this game, and I've been saying this for a long time, and Brian, I think you've been with me, the amount of talent that the Rams have lost this year, from last year this year, people just glossed over it. You lose 8 starters and replace it with 2, it's showing out. And with the injuries that they had on the line on top of it, if the Rams lose this, it not that it's life preserver time, but people need to.
The one good thing is that the NFC, at least on the wild card spot, maybe from a divisional standpoint, it'll be very tough for them. They're really going to be looking up at the Niners, especially with the matchup you guys have. We'll talk about that going to Carolina. But I don't think it puts them in dire straits with regards to the playoffs, because I just think that number 7 seed is absolutely wide open in the NFC. But it's definitely going to put them in a tough climb for the NFC West. I just thought this. I played the what's more likely game with this, and if you think of, no one's been able to slow down Cooper Kupp. We talked about that before last week. The 49ers, as amazing as their defensive playing, they couldn't slow down, or they couldn't stop him. They just slowed him down. He still had 12, 13 catches for like 120 yards. And you don't have as many playmakers. You've got a guy like Trevon Diggs who's tends to be kind of a boomer bust defensive back. So I can see a few more plays. The offense will open up a little bit more for LA. Coming back after that tough loss, I think they're more talented than they've shown. Which is why, if you maybe not the point spread, but I'm actually fairly confident that LA will pull out the victory at home. I don't see Cooper Rush continuing his dominance. That's got to come down a little bit. So what's more likely, that the Cowboys move to 4-1 under Cooper freaking Rush, or that the Rams, fresh off the Super Bowl victory with the Cooper Kupp, with an Aaron Donald making plays, Jalen Ramsey, I see them pulling out the victory at home, but don't bet the over.
I'm with you there. I didn't know that was his middle name. It's a good middle name, Cooper freaking Rush.
Cooper freaking Rush. It might as well be.
There you go, man. I love it. Now, we hit big betting last week. We went 8 for 8. Now, I can't promise you that all the time, but I can tell you we have posted positive gains 4 years in a row. So real quick word from our sponsor before we jump into these last 2 games. You know football, and you pick winners all the time, so why not get paid for them at MyBookie? Best single game spreads, money lines, parlays, teasers, multiple. You put it all together, increase your payouts however it is you want to go bet. They've got individual game lines, stats, who makes playoffs, who doesn't. Now, what's even better about it, low cost entry fees on over $500,000 to be won. Make it so you don't have to be a pro gambler to have fun. And that's what's awesome. You can bet a little bit. I'm an entertainment guy. I don't put a whole bunch on there, but getting started is easy. You just head to mybookie.ag, use our promo code 49ERS on your first deposit. They're going to double it all the way up, $1 for $1, up to $1,000 on your first deposit. So again, use our promo code 49ERS, double it all the way up to $1,000. MyBookie is a proven sportsbook that makes it simple to bet and win. We've used them for over 5 years now. So make this your winning season exclusively at MyBookie. All right. Now, I think I would put the Dallas-Los Angeles game probably most important out of all these games. However, if there is a game that I'm more excited about that's not a Niners game, it's the Eagles going to the Cardinals. It's a 5-point spread. The Eagles are on the road. They're favored by 5. Mm-hmm. I think this game could get ugly.
Yeah, I've got 5.5 actually as the spread, but even that doesn't really scare me. Here's the first line I wrote when I was breaking this down. Eagles better in every phase of the game, even quarterback at this point with the way Jalen Hurts is playing. Hurts might not have put up the stats last week that he did in the first few weeks, but if you watch that game, and I watched that game very closely because I was really eager to see not just Philly, but the Jaguars, the weather was really bad. The Jaguars defense is actually pretty good. Like, they're not getting, I think, enough credit for being good, and Hurts still found a way to win. Those are the kind of things he wasn't able to do early in his career. So you've got a dominant offensive line against the Cardinals are actually last in the NFL in sacks. They're a little bit better in the pressure rate, but they're really not finishing the job. So you've got a dominant offensive line for Philadelphia, a run game that just absolutely pounded over a Jaguars defense that was actually pretty good against the run for the first 3 weeks of the season. And then you go to the defensive side of the ball. The Eagles are yet another one of those teams with the Cowboys and the 49ers as far as just absolute pass rush dominance. And you add on to that, they've got one of the best secondaries in the NFL. There's literally no weaknesses on this team. There's no surprise that they're number one in everybody's power rankings. They're the only undefeated team left. And then they go to play a Cardinals team that got lucky to get to play the Carolina Panthers. This was one of my most confident picks last week with the Cardinals beating the Panthers. I couldn't believe that the Panthers were favored. But even then, there were still flaws. It was not a perfect game. Arizona just does not look like a dominant team. They might a big bump when they get Hopkins back, but they're not getting him back for a few weeks.
Yeah.
So there's really...
My fantasy team can attest to that.
Yeah. A lot of people need DeAndre Hopkins to get back for a fantasy. I'm making big trades in some of my redraft leagues because it has not been a good start. But yeah, they would need miracle plays by Kyler Murray just to stay in this game and stay competitive. This is probably going to be one of my more confident picks. Definitely picking the Eagles to win. I don't care if it's on the road. That doesn't give Arizona an advantage. And clearly,
they don't have a huge home crowd. They never have. Yeah. And so it's not like it's a rowdy place to play, even though it's a dome, which is, counterintuitive. But they're bad. The Eagles, listen to this. Number 2 overall offense, number 3 overall defense. Complete. Just now, eventually they're going to have a letdown game. They are the only, remaining undefeated team. So it's not like they're ironclad or anything along those lines. But whenever you look at the, what we have with the Cardinals, 14th best offense, so average, 17th best defense, average. They're just an average team. And they don't have the depth. If you look at some
of those advanced metrics, by the way, the DVOA
they're way down.
Is 31st for defense. This is a Cardinals team that they're making mistakes left and right, especially in coverage. They're actually a little bit better against the run. I was surprised. They've been, fairly decent. I think that might have skewing their stats a little bit, but they have just been decimated. They can't get a pass rush. They can't stop anybody in the secondary. Now they got to cover A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. And you mentioned that there's going to be downs for the Eagles, but this, as it pertains to this game, the Eagles got punched in the mouth by what's turning out to be a good Jags team. Jacksonville jumped out to a 14-0 lead, didn't phase Philly. They came right back. They switched up their game plan to be more run-heavy. I'm getting more faith in Nick Sirianni. If you remember in the offseason, John, that was one of my big question marks was Jalen Hurts, and I wasn't confident in Sirianni, but he is showing the ability to make adjustments, a much better, play calling this season. I'm on this Eagles train, I got to say, and I have not been on Arizona at all. I'm still not on Arizona. I don't care that they're 2-2. This is a mismatch if ever there was one.
I like it. I like it a lot. And, I think, I agree with you, Josh. He says Kingsbury makes them average, if not worse. They're just the body language. You got Kyle throwing little baby temper tantrums on the sidelines during the games. Even though they won, against a terrible team, it's just, I don't know, man. This game, I think the Eagles are going to be able to come out and dominate. I'm going to have a lot of betting specials on this one. It just doesn't look good. Now, anything else that you have on this game before we jump to the main event?
It's pretty straightforward. Let's go talk about some Niners.
All right. Now, this weekend, if you are going to the Niners, if you're an East Coast guy or gal or family, we are throwing a party Saturday night in Charlotte at the Graham Street Pub and Patio. It's 1 block from the stadium. Really excited about this. We'll be out there at 6 p.m. You can get your ticket at 49ersrushroadtrip.com. And then our tailgate Sunday right before the game, $75, unlimited beers, food, everything you need, everything you want. Party with the faithful. We've got our giveaways. We've got competitions. We've got trivia. We've got all kinds of stuff set up for you guys. Gonna be a blast. 49ersrushroadtrip.com. And again, we've got stuff for every single road trip up on the site now. So Atlanta's going to sell out. I'm telling you guys this now. Atlanta the next week, that one's going to sell out. We're pretty close to capacity already at one of those events. So make sure you get that. And then, of course, you got to come hang out with Brian because he's going to be partying with us when the Miami Dolphins travel to Santa Clara December 3rd and 4th. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about that one. So
can't wait.
Oh, it's going to be good.
Hopefully we have Tua. I don't want to pull out Teddy Bridgewater against that Niners defense. Hopefully we got Tua.
I hope Tua comes back. It's been awful what's happened there, and the NFL should be ashamed. They've already found their scapegoat, which is sad.
The Dolphins organization should be ashamed. I don't put that on McDaniel. I put that on the medical staff, whoever looked at him and said, yeah, he should go back in that Bills game.
Yeah, I mean, because I've been part of those questions and comments on the sideline. Somebody gets hurt, medical staff's checking them on the side. Meanwhile, you're coaching a game. And so what happens is the trainer has to come up and say, Coach, he's good. Coach, he's not good. Like, it's that simple. The McDaniel's not in the tent doing whatever. He's calling plays. You're working. That's happening behind you. And so when the doctor comes up to you and says, yeah, he's good, go back in, like, you have to trust them. Like, that's just the way it goes. And so we'll see how this plays out. But I don't think the ugliness is over. I think.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're right. Yeah.
Anyway, I wish the best for him. I like Tua. Left-handed Jimmy is what I say. So the 49ers, the biggest spread of the week. I have 6.5-point favorites on the road to Carolina. Woo! All right, man. Do your worst, Brian. Do your worst.
I'm going to start off saying I don't love the spread. Not because I have any faith. This Panthers offense is either second worst or worst in the NFL, going up against what has been the best defense so far through the first 4 weeks of the season in the Niners. So you talk about strength on weakness. Going to straight up say no suspense here. Niners are going to win this game. But the Panthers actually have a fairly decent defense. They have some playmakers on the defense. Brian Burns, obviously the first one to come to mind from a pass rushing standpoint. I saw somebody mention earlier in the chat about Jeremy Chin. Yes, Jeremy Chin was just placed on injured reserve. So that's a big loss. That is a big loss. But the 49ers, even at their best right now, are not putting up huge numbers on the offensive side of the ball. Even one of their touchdowns against the Rams was a defensive touchdown. So
Luvu.
I mean, what a star you guys have there. Like that's an all pro. That's not just a Pro Bowler. That guy's already playing at like future Hall of Famers. Anyway, I don't have enough faith. You would need another one of those 49ers pick sixes or fumble recovery or some sort of defensive touchdown in order to hit a 7-point victory. I'm not feeling great about that.
No, not with the way the 49ers offense is played.
Correct. Nope. Yeah, I'm just they'll get their points, but Jimmy will be up and down as he always was. He missed some throws. That one Juwan Jennings, third down throw where he overthrew him by a good 3 yards. That comes to mind right off the top of my head. So you're going to get those plays. That's just the Jimmy Garoppolo experience. But look, at the end of the day, I don't see any scenario where Carolina wins this, short of Jimmy making some run out of the back of the end zone, lose some fumbles, throw a few picks, because Carolina has an opportunistic defense. They've scored some defensive touchdowns. But that's a lot.
And their strength goes against our weakness because we're not down one left tackle. We're down 2. So Brian Burns against Jalen Moore, I'm with you. The 49ers should win this game handedly, but it's this NFL team, and their best player is going against our third string left tackle. They're going to have some success. 49ers aren't walking out of this game like they did the Rams with 0 sacks, 0 turnovers. That's not happening again.
Yeah. So, like I said, there's a very, very slim scenario of Carolina actually winning this game. So I'm very comfortable from a money line picking the Niners to win this game. Probably one of the most confident picks of the week, straight up. But as far as having to win by 7 or more, just because that offense hasn't been that explosive, don't love that. But obviously the biggest story here is how many sacks is this 49ers defense going to get on Baker Mayfield? How many batted balls are they going to get on Baker Mayfield? The Panthers would need a defensive miracle in order to pull this off. Very confident in 49ers to win this game on the road. But as far as betting, I wish the spread was a little bit less.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And we've got some questions just on the Niners game. So if you want to get those in, Trey Hall, what's up, man? He says, why do you think Kittle isn't getting touches? One, not a lot of sustained drives. So we've been terrible on third downs. So, for example, we had 50 offensive plays against the Rams. That's not much. The average is usually around, I think, 65 to 67, usually in a given year. So you're cutting 15 plays, 17 plays off those things. That hurts in and of itself. 2, Kittle's not 100%. Taking him time coming back, you don't want him opening up. He's had that groin issue. That's why he missed time. So it's just dude, you just stay in the wheelhouse. But a lot of that sustained drives, there's a lot of mouths to feed. Now, what I do hate is why is Ray McLeod getting 3 targets before Kittle gets 1? Why is, Charlie Warner getting deep throws? Why is Dwelly getting throws? And all that happened before Kittle got anything. Also, Kittle is blocking a lot because of the left tackle situation. You need those extra alignment. And I would argue it sucks that Kittle's not getting targeted. But the fact that you went through an entire game against the Rams defense without giving up 1 sack, Kittle's being used correctly. It's not fun for fantasy, but he's doing what he is. Dad, he says, John, how's Brunskill? Can he play left tackle? I wish he was starting at left tackle. I prefer him over Jalen Moore big time. But it seems like they like him on the inside. So I don't like it, but that's just the way that it is. It's sad, but it's what it is. Dan, he even talked about Jimmy Chinn's out. Ayuk time. I doubt it. I don't think it's going to be Ayuk time as long as Jimmy Garoppolo's under center. They just do not match up their strengths very well. But I do expect Ayuk to get some targets in those first 15 plays. Josh knows what's up. Kyle scripts him open. Once second, fourth quarters, Ayuk going to disappear every time because Jimmy just does not look that way. He just doesn't. It's problematic to say the least. Now, before I want to do something different that we haven't really done, Brian, I want to go through just an NFC West kind of power ranking, okay? And we'll see how this goes, how this flows. But before we do that, I do want to say, if you haven't checked out our Patreon yet, we put out way too much content. We just did a bonus episode of 49ers Cutback. So if you want some more 49ers stuff, that's up on there. You can go check that out right now. Go to patreon.com/49ers Rush Podcast. Every offensive play, every defensive play, every special teams play broken down through the coaches tape with me analyzing what's going on. I think we're putting out over almost 6 hours of content a week there. So go check that out. We've got a scouting report on the Panthers coming out tomorrow. So check that out. That's going to be up over there. Here we go. Brian, I hope you're ready. This is going to be a little bit of a lightning round. Let's start at the top and kind of work our way down if we can.
Sure.
Am I incorrect to say that you have the Eagles number 1 overall?
Correct. And I have my power ranking show today. So I actually have my own personal power rankings right after this at 3 Pacific. So
all right. I don't want you to go through it all, but what I want to know is, okay, you got the Eagles 1. What are the other teams, and you don't have to go in a particular order, that you would consider in that kind of top tier? Is it 3 teams, 2 teams, 5 teams that are in that kind of top NFC West? There's only 16 teams. Half of them are really bad. What does that top tier look like for you?
For the whole NFL or just the NFC?
Just the NFC. I don't care about the sneaking AFC. They can get out of my house. I don't care.
I mean, you definitely have to put the Packers up there in that top tier. You just have to throw the week 1 Aaron Rodgers experience out the window for whatever reason. And they're not blowing people away, but they have in the past, but they're finding ways to win. Their defense is strong. They're getting great production from Rashawn Gary on the pass rush. And they're now finding ways to get pass catchers involved. Romeo Doubs has had a touchdown in consecutive weeks. I'm big on him in general. I drafted him in multiple dynasty leagues, and I think he's finally earning the trust. He actually leads the Packers in targets. He has more targets than Allen Lazard, and Lazard is kind of right there. Also got 8 targets last week, so I think you're going to see him get more comfortable. Robert Tonyan's looking healthy, and you still have Aaron Rodgers. So there's a lot to like. They've gotten Bakhtiari back recently. They've got Nelson Jenkins back. They're getting better at the right time. I expected them to beat the Patriots by more than they did, but at the end of the day, they still got to win. They're 3-1.
I was hoping they'd lose that one, and I hate the Patriots, but I was pulling for Mac
Bailey
Jones
Zappi.
2.0 out there. Yeah. He
He
looked just like Mac Jones, man.
He did. There was a joke that Bill Belichick doesn't know that Bailey Zappi isn't Mac Jones, and nobody's telling him that it isn't. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, I think you put the Packers right there. As far as the NFC, the top tier, I don't know that I've got anybody outside of the Eagles and the Packers. The next tier, the 49ers are part of that, mainly because of the 49ers offense. We just talked about the offense.
It's bad. It's been bad.
The Packers are much more well-rounded. Elite defense, 49ers have that, especially in the pass rush. And now the coverage with Hufanga. But the offense needs to get better. You're losing people on the offensive line. You're losing an all-pro on the offensive line in Trent Williams. The running game has been okay, but it hasn't been as explosive as it has in years past. Debo is looking fantastic, but they're not getting Kittle involved out of necessity. So I'm not ready to put them in the top tier, but I will put them in the second tier. Solidly a playoff team. The way things look now, the 49ers would be my favorite to win the NFC West. Obviously, they just blasted their main competition on Monday night. I think I would probably put Dallas in that second tier too. You got to. I was not, you and I were both not high on Dallas, but the defense has impressed me. Dan Quinn has that, side of the ball firing on all cylinders. Micah Parsons looks like one of the best players in the entire NFL right now, but they're also getting production from other players. Trayvon Diggs, who is, there's pros and cons about him, but he now has his second interception. Say what you will, but the guy knows how to find the ball, and he knows how to make plays on the defensive side of the ball.
I'd love to play against them. I hope the Niners get them in the playoffs if they're both in. I would love that. Just because I think it's a good matchup for the 49ers.
It is a good matchup. And because the NFC East is the way it is, the Cowboys at this point, they're off to a great start. They'll probably end up getting one of those wild card seeds, and they'll be an easy matchup for one of the top seeds. A couple more teams to look at. I also put the Bucs and the Rams in that next tier. Maybe drop the Rams down to tier 3.
I think so too.
I just think there's too many holes. You mentioned the talent that they lost, but let's quickly talk about the Bucs. I was lower on the Bucs than a lot of people going in. Part of that was Tom Brady has to go down a little bit at some point, but also the injuries they've had, they haven't been able to overcome that. Their strength was the defense, and the defense just got run up and down the field by Kansas City.
That was embarrassing.
Yeah, and the run game, which has always been a stalwart of theirs, they were not able to stop the run. The Chiefs were able to run at will. It didn't matter if it was Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Isaiah Pacheco. They were just imposing their will on the Bucs. I think that's problematic long term. The Bucs will make the playoffs. They'll win.
That's the one team I'm probably the most scared of, just because of matchup wise.
Yes.
Not because of Tom Brady, not because of just because of matchup wise. Their strength on our strength kind of equalizes. I don't like that matchup. Somebody asked, do the Eagles scare you? They're a top tier team. And can the 49ers play with them? Yes, they can. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, the Eagles are a complete football team. Right now, with where our offense is, it's bad. Yeah. The offense got to step up. Am I worried about the Packers? Hell no. Am I worried about the Rams? No. I am worried about the Bucs just because the matchup-wise with the 49ers, I don't like it on paper. Them and the Eagles, those are the two teams I'd like to stay away from. Do you consider the Vikings legit?
Once again, they're like the Cowboys because they've gotten off to a 3-1 start. They're going to play the Lions. They're going to play the Bears. They're going to get some easy wins. They'll probably end up being a wild card team behind Green Bay. But I don't think I think that's a good matchup. I think that this Kevin O'Connell offense has fits. Like, they looked amazing in week 1, and they have just found ways to win instead of looking dominant for the other 3 games that they've played.
Primetime Kirk Cousins, baby.
Yeah. Looked flat out overmatched against the Eagles. Like, they were just and their offensive line, they've allowed a lot of pressure. And Cousins can be questionable even in the best of circumstances. You put pressure on him and confuse him, he's completely flabbergasted. They at least found a way to get Justin Jefferson involved last week. But this offense has underwhelmed. The defense has been kind of league average, which I expected them to be a little bit better than that. They're not really getting a ton of pass rush pressure. They're not that great against the run, not that great against the pass, just kind of middle of the road. So they match up well. I wouldn't say they're not a playoff team, but they'd be a good matchup if the 49ers played them.
I like that. And you know what else I like? CJ Gray welcoming all the faithful out to North Carolina. I love it, man. He says the 49ers at my home for the first time in a decade. I freaking love it, man. And Bosa's going to make himself at home there as well.
Fun fact, by the way, because I'm sure you guys don't know this, I was born and raised in North Carolina. I am originally from North Carolina. Spent the first 16 years of my life in Winston-Salem. My brother is a Panthers fan. I grew up a Dolphins fan, so that was never a consideration. But that's my North Carolina tie. Say hi to my folks.
When I saw your dad and talked to him, I was like, "Oh, he's from the South."
You got the Southern. Yeah, he's from Mississippi. My dad is born and raised in Mississippi. So
those are my people. My people. Yeah. Your dad's class act, man. It was one of the highlights of that Canton trip was hanging out and having a beer with your dad watching football. He's a good dude.
Great guy.
That's going to do it for us. That's all we got on the agenda today. I'm excited about this. Brian, help us know, where can we catch your content? You're about to do a Power Rankings episode. I want everybody to go check out this show. When, and where?
It starts at 3 Pacific, so it's starting in 25 minutes. We do it every
right.
Wednesday. So here's the cool thing is we actually do it draft style. So I've got my personal rankings, which is, I'm just sharing with you guys with regards to the NFC. But I have Jimmy Ray from the NFL Stats Twitter account. If you guys follow NFL Stats on Twitter, he's got like 141,000 followers. It's a guy, Jimmy Ray. He's a Colts fan from Indianapolis. Great guy. He runs the power ranking show every Wednesday. We take a turns drafting. So I might have a ranking on one team. He might have a different ranking. Whoever comes up in the draft, that's where they end up. And then we put our final power rankings out on Twitter, out on Instagram for everybody to tell us just how absolutely wrong we are and how much we suck at doing this. That's all right. We welcome it. So yeah, just go to the 30 Minutes of Football YouTube channel. We'll be going live at 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. And then otherwise, we've got the Thursday night preview. Tomorrow, we usually answer some live viewer fantasy questions on Thursdays. That's at 4:30 Pacific. And Friday, our game pick show. John has been on that show before. We go through every single game. I pick games against the spread and give my reasonings for it. We have a sports betting expert that's going to be joining us every Friday. He's actually writes for Forbes for sports betting. So I'm really excited. His name's Tanner. So check us out at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern this Friday if you want to get some sports betting advice.
Love, man. Brian, I look forward to this show every week. It's refreshing to look outside the box a little bit. And so thank you. Appreciate your positivity, all the knowledge that you bring. Great
My
work
pleasure,
as
man.
always. That's going to do it for us. Tomorrow, I'm flying out bright and early. I got 10 hours fly time to get all the way to the West Coast. But I'll be putting out some content once I'm out there. And again, if you're coming out, and I get these emails after every single away game. Hey, John, I saw you at so-and-so, but you were talking to somebody, and so I didn't come say hi. Don't be that guy or girl. Come say what's up, please. That's why we do these things. So if you see bright, rosy, red cheeked out in the streets, I don't care if I'm talking to somebody. Just please come say hi. We don't have to chat for 30 minutes, but I want to make those connections. They're very, very important to me. So anyway, please come say what's up and join us, 49ersrushroadtrip.com. And until then, till next time, appreciate you, Brian. Thank you, all the faithful. Stay strong out there.